This is the winter that won't go away. It's Monday, February the 10th, 2014. It's time for another show by the dog. Weber This Week is brought to you here on FingerLakes1TV.com. Hope you're all having a good Monday AM. It's about 9:30 here in the Eastern Time Zone. We welcome you to our show, and today we have a special program. I haven't seen Cindy in quite a while, but Cindy Lorenzetti. She is the supervisor for the hamlet of Fayette, and she has done a spectacular job on the board. I've always appreciated Cindy's work, and I wanted to get her in here to talk about some politics, and we're going to spend a couple of minutes in talking about SU basketball. We're also going to take time out to praise the Geneva High cheerleading team, which, by the way, I will disclaim, my granddaughter is part of the team. I would be talking about him anyways, but today a little extra dose in a few minutes. But Cindy Lorenzetti joins us, and Cindy, thanks a lot for carving out 30 minutes of your precious time.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show. I've looked forward to coming on and ready for your questions.
Well, you saw Steve Churchill here a couple of weeks, and we were kind, weren't we?
You were, but you can fire whatever you want. I'm ready for you.
Oh, that's all right. Let's talk. Cindy, of course, give us a little bit about your background to folks that may not know you personally or know about you, where you were born, where you went to school, and your family situation. Give us an update.
Okay. First of all, I'm the supervisor of the town of Fayette. There's a hamlet, but the town Fayette. My name is Cindy Garlic Lorenzetti. I grew up and born and raised in the town of Eric. I went to Romulus Central School, graduated, then went on to Marion S. Whalen School of Practical Nursing, then decided to go on to OCC, and I'm a physical therapy assistant with Finger Lakes Visiting Nurse Service, and I do home care. So honestly and truly, I'm out and about in the communities everywhere. Seneca County, Ontario County. I don't have to go to Wayne County too far, sometimes Yates County. My family, I'm married to John Lorenzetti, Bones. I'm sure everyone knows him. He's an occupational therapist at Finger Lakes Visiting Nurse, and he does driver rehab training at Geneva General. He's also been very involved in area sports, and he's been I don't tell people too much, but a referee. He's with the Zebra Group for probably 25 years.
Okay, it's a long
College
time.
And girls basketball, high school basketball. I have 3 children, Joshua, who is a financial analyst in New York City, Marissa, who is she works for a lobbying firm, and she's the political one of the family now, down in Washington. In fact, she called on here the night one of the calls received was from her, and she was from the election night calling all the way from Washington.
During our live election night coverage. Yeah, that was fun.
And my daughter Angela lives in Canandaigua, and right now she's a stay-at-home mom. I have a grandson whom is great. He's 8 months old. Maybe be a future SU player. I don't know. His mom graduated from Kansas, though, so we have a little conflict there with the Syracuse Orange and the Jayhawks. Both good teams. Well,
that's a good background. I understand Marissa, the political type down in Washington, will be critiquing you today on this show.
Oh, most definitely. She'll be the hardest critiquer. And I did forget to say that. I guess how I got involved in politics is I came from a very political family. My dad was the Varick supervisor for many, many years. He was the first Democratic Varick supervisor elected. Then he went on to be the deputy commissioner of New York State Ags and Markets. So we kind of had that throughout our whole family. My mom also was the Varick town clerk for a number of years. So public service. My brother Michael was on the Varick town board. He was on the IDA board. So public service kind of runs in our blood.
Well, certainly, one thing I've always appreciated about you before you came on the show this morning is your ability to leave your heart on the table. You're also very outspoken sometimes. You don't like to be backed down relative to issues that are important to you and to your constituents. That's something I've always appreciated. Talk a little bit about the board as a whole. We just had Bob Hayssen get reelected as chairman. There was speculation other people were having their hat in the ring. Bob eventually won. Give us an overview of how that played out and your thoughts on Bob Hayssen as the chairman.
Perfect. I knew you were going to ask me this. So trying to be very politically correct, but also be very honest, which I've been from day one. I actually had toyed with thinking about this year, maybe putting my hat in the arena for the chairmanship. There's only 4 Democrats, so it was a long shot. And then I said to myself, you really shouldn't do that, Cindy, because we have a water line, Varick and Fayette, that we share together, that we've had trouble with, and we are in litigation with the county at this time. And I thought, how can I be the chairman of that board, represent my town, and be in a legal battle? Right. It was a conflict of interest, and ethically, I did not think it was right. So for that, one of those reasons, I'm like, I don't think that Bob Hayssen should be the chair. We're in litigation with the county. It's not right. So, but previously to that, the previous year, Lee Davidson had voiced an interest, and I like Lee Davidson. He's kind of middle of the road. He understands people, and I just thought it was time for the board to maybe have a new chairman. So I aggressively did a lot of marketing for Lee, and at the last minute, Lee had said, and at that point, we weren't sure that he had enough votes.
Okay.
Then they went into the Republican caucus, and I don't know what happened there, but Lee decided that he wasn't going to run. So this year, being the fact that I'm like, I don't think somebody that's in litigation with the county should have that position, I very, very aggressively campaigned for Lee, along with a few other people on the board. Now, Lee did not come seeking that. I went to him. But I do want to say before that, I thought there would be a great person to be the chair, and that was Keith Kabasic. And Keith told me he wasn't interested in that post, and I understood that. It's a lot of time, I will say that. Whoever's the chairperson, you do a lot of hard work. You go to extra meetings. You have to portray yourself out in the public as you're the representative of the chair. You know, you're the chair of the supervisors of Seneca County. There's a lot of social obligations. So I do want to say that it's a hard job, and I do take my hat off to anybody that has that position. However, I just did not feel it should be Chairman Hayssen. Lee Davidson, after I seeked him out to do it, he thought about it for a couple days, and then he came back and he said he would do it. Now, we had many phone calls. I made tons of phone calls, tons of lobbying, and quite honestly, I figured it up. He had the vote. I don't know what happened, and I think that
you gotta love politics.
I'm not quite sure, but he, said he wasn't interested. He, at the last minute, withdrew his name, and thus we scrambled around. We tried to kind of lobby it up that night of the meeting. We threw Steve Churchill's name in.
Don Earl's name was thrown in there, I heard, too.
Well, Don Earl's name was at caucus.
Okay.
And then they had decided that I guess he wasn't the candidate.
Okay.
But that is the part of politics that I don't like playing. But I have to be honest with you. If you're going to be in politics, every now and then you have to play that game. And it's a game that too often is not played. But it seems like there's a lot of controversy when it comes down time to picking a chairperson.
Yeah.
But
it
hopefully
does seem
now,
like a lot of time.
Yep. Hopefully now we can move forward, and we'll go from there.
And of course, we talked about it during our discussion before coming on the air. Cindy, you're in the midst of trying to find a new county manager.
Yes.
Big job to fill.
It's a huge job to fill. Mitch Rohr was a great loss to, leaving Seneca County. He did a great job when he was there. I think the opportunity came up for him, and he's a Rochester guy. His roots are there. His wife works there. His mother's on the city council, and when Lovely Warren won, which was an upset, she knocked on his door and said, "Come back home." And it wasn't money, because we had all agreed that, well, let's try to offer him more salary to stay. And he said it wasn't about money. So you have to respect the guy. He's got to move on and do what he has to do.
Well, I've only met him once, and he seemed like a very sharp guy, and I know the county is going to lose a good ingredient in the way it operates. But I'm sure you guys or the board will pick somebody who's capable. Well,
the thing is, now we're in the midst of everything, and there's a lot of issues that he was directing of, and it's going to be very hard to fill his shoes. He did one thing about Mitch is he took a lot of responsibility on, and he probably did more than what he should have done. And to have 14 very different supervisors be your boss, that's just that's unbelievable anyway for anybody to come in. Hopefully at times politics are brought in to the county manager's position, and they shouldn't be. So we really need to pick this next person very carefully.
Well, one of the things that I have talked, Cindy Lorenzetti is our special guest this morning. We're talking politics. We're going to go to sports in a few minutes. But one of the points that's always kind of driven me crazy, and I read the Finger Lakes Times every night, I'm a subscriber, is the IDA. And nothing against the IDA, but I've always wondered, as just a Minders graduate of 63 vintage, of wondering, what is their sole purpose? I understand, Cindy, the need for an IDA to help businesses expand, to give them an opportunity to grow. I think where I'm driven crazy by the IDA, and I don't know Bob Aronson, I may know him if I see him, but him and his committee appears to give out free money when, in fact, up until recently, when you and the rest of the board got on this, I don't think there was a lot of accountability of what you were giving businesses. If they say they're going to hire 50 new employees in 3 years, it seemed to me that nobody was checking on that. I may be wrong, but I believe you guys had a big discussion on that. Give us an update on your feelings with the IDA, and tell us if the board is working to try to change that.
Okay, I have to try to behave myself and be politically correct. But
and that's what I know you will. Right.
But WebDog, yeah. There's been issues. There's been issues that I've had personally with Mr. Aronson. A few months back, when Sandy hit, they were going to bring the trash in by rail. It was just, they told us it was going to happen and that it was happening because of the emergency preparedness by the governor. Well, prior to that, and I do want to say that the supervisors, we don't know everything that's going on. We get tips from the community. We get tips from people that don't want to come out. They want to remain anonymous. And I actually got a tip from somebody and started looking into it. Well, I'm sorry to say, but there was an email that Mr. Aronson had privied out that there was plans for garbage to come in by rail prior to Sandy being hit. When Sandy hit, it was just one way that they tapped into it, and we're going to say it's because we're trying to help relief. Once you bring it in, once a train starts, it's pretty damn hard to stop that train.
Yeah.
So your best bet is to stop it right up front. Now, had I not got that tip, I have no idea what would be happening out at the depot right now. And when I called Mr. Aronson, now before this, we had a good communication, good relationship, and I said, what's going on? You're bringing garbage into the depot. And whether he wants to admit to it, I'll tell you right now, I swear if I was in a court of law, that he said to me, well, what can we do for the town of Fayette? Well, that just sent me flying. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
How about the county? So to make a long story short, that's when I got on the tail and I started thinking, okay, they've given pilot monies to many entities, which are deserving. I mean, Gould's Pump has been here forever.
Sure.
They've created a lot of jobs.
Right.
They created their allotment of jobs.
Exactly.
Bonadette, they've been great for the community. They got their pilot. They've created all the jobs that they said, and then probably some, and they're more than average paying jobs. There's controversy over the McDonald's, Bill Cram's. There's the company out at the depot, NEFT, New England Freight Transfer, that they just gave a dispensation. They paid $1,000 a month rent. They dropped their payment down to $250 because of unforeseen. They weren't able to build up their business like they thought they would. I'm wondering if that's because the trash train didn't come in. I'm not sure. And it just goes on and on and on. And one of the other biggest things, my pet peeves, is that when they had the Hampton and the McDonald's project, subcontractors weren't being paid.
I did read about that continuously, yeah.
And it's like you have to put something in stipulations when you give these that the subcontractors have to be guaranteed their money. They shouldn't have to take it to court to get their monies. Well, Mr. Aronson came to the board and, said, can't do this, can't do this. We got some lawyers out of Syracuse that said, yeah, you can. And quite honestly, I blame the boards for allowing no accountability.
Right.
And now that maybe some of the board members are questioning accountability, the heat's getting hot in the kitchen. But that's our job.
Down the road, you think the subcontractors may have some guarantees on getting paid if they do the work?
That's what we'd certainly hope for.
Boy, that would be terrible if you're a small electrical business and you go in there and you got $80,000 coming, you got to go to court to get that money.
And it'll take a couple years to get that money.
It's ridiculous.
It's totally ridiculous.
Well, in my only view, and again, I don't know Bob Aronson. I understand the motives. I understand the mission of the IDA. I'm not aloof to that degree, but I am always been convinced, Cindy, and you agree with me on this. If you're going to give somebody $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $40,000, and if they say to you they're going to add 18 employees in the next 2 years, somebody from the IDA should be checking in on that at the 12-month period and say, hey, if you say you're going to hire 18, have you hired anybody? Well, I've hired 2. Well, you got 1 more year to get 16 more employees. That's my issue with the whole thing. I'm not against improving our commerce. I'm not against giving money to good causes that lay out a business plan. But if they don't meet their total, and if they say they're going to hire 40 employees and they hire 38, so be it. Close is good to me.
Right.
But if you say you're going to hire 40 and you hire 20, I'm sorry, you got to draw back and get some of that money back. That's always been my view on it.
I totally agree. There has been no accountability until probably recently. Other people, there are people in the community that say, you know, the board members should be rotated. And number one, I take my hat off to anybody that volunteers to be on a board.
Right.
Okay.
Understand.
I sat on the planning board before I became the town supervisor, and it's you know, their task, and you're not getting paid for it, but you're doing it because you care about the community that you live in. So I don't want to, by any means, bash anybody that volunteers on any board.
No, I understand.
However, I do believe that Mr. Aronson, that's his job. He gets paid to do that. Should be making that, going and checking, just like you said, Web Dog. And I think that he should have more of an appearance at our county board meetings. He doesn't come. He doesn't give reports. He doesn't keep us informed. And right now we have a huge thing coming to face us with the depot going to be turned over in 2015.
And that's only a year away.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, listen, Cindy Garlic Lorenzetti, and we're running out of time so fast, it's unbelievable. But we want to talk about why all the jerseys here next to Cindy, why all the Q's jerseys. She's going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about the Geneva cheerleading team as we get ready to go to commercial. By the way, yes, my granddaughter's a member of that team, but I want to send out kudos to Donna Morale and the Geneva High cheerleading team. This past weekend, they went to RIT and won the Section 5 Class A championship, nipping East Irondequoit and other schools. So, you know, these kids work hard, and anyone who's ever watched cheerleading, they know they have the sprained ankles, they have the tendonitis, they have a lot of issues. That's a tough sport. I get laughing when people say, well, it's no big deal, it's cheerleading. To my granddaughter, to all the people involved in the Geneva cheerleading team, kudos to you from the Web Dog here on Weber This Week, and to Donna Morale. 2 thumbs up, a spectacular job. She's coaching 3 years. And by the way, the last time they won the Class A section title was some 4 years ago. So congratulations goes out the Geneva High cheerleading team. Way to go, guys and girls. We'll come back with more Weber This Week with Cindy Garlic Lorenzetti after we hear from our great sponsors. Eagle Lake National Bank. Bill Ryan and his team for all of your banking needs. Offices in Union Springs and Aurora. A fine sponsor of this show for over 30 years. DA Liquor, Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her great team will find that right spirit for you every time. Tell Amy the dog sent you. Steve Wadhams, Wadhams Enterprises, your employer of choice. Proud supporter of this show and local athletics. Steve Muller Motors, smullermotors.com. Quality, affordable vehicles, both foreign and domestic. Bob and Leslie Oman, owners of the Oman Theater, in Lions as well as the New York Pilots, a minor league baseball team with a major league ballpark. Lizard's Tailgater Lounge, Waterloo, best mott sticks around where you can enjoy a drink and some laughs. SenecaFallsCountryClub.com, awesome 18-hole layout offering a 12-month payment plan. Home of the toughest par 4 in central New York, that'd be number 16. Wilson Press, WPress.com. Seneca Falls, Rich Ricky, my good friend, and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs. Rich Ricky, Wilson Press, a fine sponsor of Weber This Week. Welcome back, everybody. It's a dog with you with another edition of Weber This Week. The sun is out, but it's still darn cold. I'm getting tired of this winter. Man, this reminds me of when Samantha was real young and those snowstorms would go up to the top of the roof. That's kind of like the winter we're getting slapped around this year for 2013, 2014. Cindy, a couple quick comments about political, then we're going to switch our attention to SU basketball. A quick capsule comment about the casino, Tyre McGee, Will the birds and the horses and the cattle be the same if a casino goes out that little lonely road out there? What's your quick snapshot? What's your feeling? You for it?
The casino, I think, would be a boost to the Seneca County economy that we need. Wilmerite, one good thing that I felt very comfortable with is Wilmerite is a Rochester-based company.
Right.
Everything that they've ever put their hands in has turned out to be well.
Yep.
Looking at Eastview, everyone loves that, the way they developed it. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful economy for Ontario County. They're family owned and they're from Rochester. That's a huge thing with me, rather than thinking of some Vegas people coming in and wanting to put something in.
Sure.
So they have roots to the local region. I do think it would be a good thing for our county, and I do want to say though that I've fielded a few phone calls from some residents in Tyre because I've been to all the meetings that they've had out at the McGee Fire Hall.
Okay.
And my only comment to them is, you need to contact your supervisor. I understand where you're coming from. You live in that back. You're in the back door of where they are. But when decisions have to be made, it has to be made for a whole group of people, not just a certain few. I would hope that with different kind of plannings and landscaping, and they have the best engineers that, they would think about the noise, traffic again, coming off the thruway. Will they expand to 4 lanes? Because I know how busy that is with the outlets.
I can speak first volumes. I work there.
Yeah. Yeah. Will they have their own off-ramp? I mean, I'm sure that that's an issue that they're going to have to look into.
Are they going to make that 2-lane road 4 lanes?
Right.
Like you said.
Exactly. And I'm sure that that's something that they'll do. Wilmerite, again, is a good company, and I'm sure all that will be addressed. The thing about... What was the other question?
No, I was going to ask you about the casino, but there was some other concern. You had another concern you wanted to discuss, too, before we went off the air.
And then before I forget.
Exactly.
I do want to say about the cheerleaders, congratulations. Yes. I used to coach my sister-in-law, Patty, and I, St. Pat's cheerleading.
Aha.
So it's a lot of hard work, and good for them, and it is a sport. It very much is a sport. As far as... Wrapping it up for the casino, I think that, yes. Do I think that it would be good for this county? Yes, I do.
Okay. Time will tell.
One of my other issues that I have that I hold like close to my heart is water.
Right.
Water in Seneca County.
Right.
Because there's so many people that don't have water. And the people that have water take it for granted. I lived in Varick, and we had 2 wells. And it usually, if there was a dry summer, those wells went dry.
Sure.
And you had to go to the laundromat. You had to carry water. So, hopefully we will be able to expand water lines in this county and possibly have everybody have the same water rates. And it's something that we have a committee in Fayette that we're working very hard at, that we're, looking into, because I think it's an important thing.
Okay. Well, listen, folks, now we're going to turn our attention. We thank her for her political comments. She's very out, and we could have spent 3 hours with her. Obviously, there's a lot of topics to talk about. But let's now turn our attention. First off, Jimmy, you were talking about the Seneca Falls Country Club. Give us a quick snapshot on that as well. Got a new membership deal out there.
Yeah, Seneca Falls Country Club, $1,200 new member with cart pass. So
that's a good deal.
That's normally that runs around $1,800. So if you're a new member, weren't a member last year, you can join for $1,200, which works out to $100 a month.
Wow!
And you get golf with cart all summer long. So.
All right, that's an excellent deal. Seneca Falls Country Club, contact the club or contact Jimmy, who is the president of the club, and certainly he will get you the right paperwork to fill out, et cetera, et cetera. Cindy, now you're hosting a bunch of Cuse jerseys here. Give us the significance of that.
Well, when you called and left a message on my cell phone and said, "This is Harold Weber, I'd like you to come on the show," I immediately called my husband. I'm like, "Oh my God, Web Dog," because I used to listen to you back then. And I remember Dave Barnick with all his shows, and I saw your guys' podcast on Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I'm like, Harold Weber called. He wants to talk to me about Syracuse basketball. He was like, "No way." And then I called back, and I go, "Oh, I thought it was about sports." But anyway, we've been season ticket holders for 10 years.
Right.
And one question that people have always asked me is like, well, how much does it cost? Well, it depends on what section you're in.
Right.
But you pay for the seat, and then you pay for the ticket. And I think we sit in 104. So for everybody that's asked me, my husband has finally told me the truth, because for years he would skirt around the issue. $750.
$750.
And you're right across the aisle from the students, right?
We are. Yep. We were lucky because when Well, we've had them for 10 years, but when my daughter Marissa was there, my husband happened to just get that section. We're right by the kids. We're right by her.
Walt Gable's over there, right? And Panucci.
Yes. Well, that's the other part I wanted to say. So we have our own section with a lot of Finger Lakes people. Mr. Gable, he brings all the balloons. John Panucci and his wife. We have.
God, you hear John Panucci. Oh, my God. He's like a megaphone.
Oh, my God. You mean the dad.
Okay.
Not John. Right.
Oh, I'm thinking of the old man. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So they're not there in the winter, though, because they're down in Florida.
Good.
But then we have, like, people from Ontario, Don Johnson from Stanley. We have Dale Heminger from Seneca Castle. So our whole area is like Finger Lakes group, and it's really nice.
It's nice.
It is. It is.
Well, I'll show one, hold one
up. All right,
up.
so the history.
Okay.
We have the 86 to 84 March night.
Nice.
Okay. We were... This was if anybody said what was one of your best games, I wasn't there, but the next day we got in the car and went. This is the 6 overtime, okay, that went till 2 a.m.
Everybody's talking about the Duke game being the greatest college basketball game ever. It doesn't come close to that.
And then we got in the car and went, and then when they played, did they play Connecticut, right? And they lost. And my husband was ready to leave. I said, no, we're staying till the end, because I just had a feeling that maybe Johnny Flynn would make the tournament team. Right. Well, he got MVP. Even though Syracuse didn't get in it, that to me was a huge thing.
Sure.
Then we have the Villanova, sold out with 34,616.
Nice. You could open up your own clothing store. Okay.
Beat Georgetown for old time's sake.
No, that one didn't turn out so well. That was
now, and then I thought you'd say, what did you think about them leaving the Big East?
Yes.
And at that time, I'm like, I can't believe they're leaving the Big East.
I was devastated.
Been there forever.
Yeah.
We are powerhouse in the Big East.
Right.
What are we going to be in the ACC? We might be low man on the totem pole, and look what happened.
There you go.
I want to keep winning. I want to go undefeated.
One night we were at the Inland Reef. There's a group of us, and we were talking about, do we want to go to the Final Four?
Nice.
We had a couple beers, and all of a sudden, all I know is the one guy pulled the lever on the computer and bought all the tickets. So
nice.
We got in the car and drove straight through and went to Atlanta to the Final Four.
Beautiful.
Then we have the sold-out Duke.
Wow.
Yep, there it is.
35,446.
Now, that game was an awesome game because it could have been anybody's game.
Right.
Back and forth, back and forth. Had Syracuse lost that game, I would not have been mad at the team because both teams played their heart out.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have been able. The thing about that game is it was such a big game because it was the first time Duke was playing us in the Dome in the ACC. And we won that game, and that'll be true forever.
Right.
And so now when we go to Duke on February 22nd, no pressure on us, right?
Yeah.
Right,
you know?
Exactly.
So I love it.
Exactly. And then we have which we are right now.
We are number one, baby.
So,
well, that's a great job. Great job. Great job. I've had guests on this show for years. I've never had anyone bring in a wardrobe. I like it.
Well, not that many T-shirts.
I thought maybe you guys would give me like seconds and I could change into each shirt. But then I realized, oh my God, the time's
It's only a
already
30-minute show. We're going to go over a few minutes, and that's okay. Well, that's great. I appreciate it. That's a nice collection. I bet they're worth some money, those things. All right. So, hey, by the way, on a much smaller level from the college ranks, we're talking high school basketball, but T-minus almost over with the regular season. The regular season ends this week, but FingerLakes1.com TV has broadcasted 13 of a 14-game schedule. We're set to broadcast our final game tomorrow night. I'll have the honor of doing the play-by-play with Kevin Korzenowski. Jimmy, of course, will be there along with Jeremy Hunt. The Waterloo girls who thought maybe they were out of the hunt to win that division in their league on their Finger Lakes East. But, hey, hold on. Not so fast, as Lee Corso would say. Wayne upsets Pelmac over the weekend, which was a surprise to me anyways. After Pelmac had beat Waterloo in overtime by 12, that puts Waterloo and Pelmac with 14-2 records. And tomorrow night we'll be doing the Waterloo girls Newark game. Newark has not had a typical Newark season, so it would appear that Waterloo could win that game. They were going to be favored to win it. Well, guess who Pelmac plays? Geneva. And guess where Geneva is? They're in third place. So this has got all kinds of scenarios. A Pelmac loss, a Waterloo win, gives Waterloo the division. A Waterloo loss, a Pelmac loss, obviously in Geneva beats Pelmac, there will be a three-way tie. So it's going to be really interesting. We'll be doing some scoreboard watching tomorrow night at Waterloo. So, again, our final broadcast for Finger Lakes 1. It's hard to believe, Jimmy, the season is almost over.
We did 14 games. Last Friday we were in Seneca Falls for Waterloo at Minders, girls and boys, and that was really, really fun night with a three-man booth of Barnick and Corsi and Matt Verkey.
So,
but
it's going to be
good chance, if you haven't yet, one of the last chances you'll get to see some of these girls from Waterloo. Lauren Deming, Lindsay Johnson are a couple seniors who are unbelievable basketball players. They went to the state finals last year. And they got some younger kids too, like Chelsea Steinrock hit 5 3-pointers
ever
on Friday
since she
night.
come on this show. She's been 24, 20,
she
and
got
21.
the Weber bump.
It must be the Weber bump. So Chelsea, if you're checking it out today, I'm going to needle you about that tomorrow night. She was averaging, I don't know, 10 or 11 points. She comes on this show. She scores 24, 20, and 21. So congratulations to Chelsea.
So, Cindy, legislation should just start flowing through for you now that you got the Weber bump.
You got the Weber bump. You'll probably get more than the vote you usually get. Hey, and by the way, so that game will be 7:30 tomorrow night here on Finger Lakes 1. Don't miss it. It's going to be a great game, and it'll be our final broadcast of the year.
Pending sectionals, we don't know. They don't like us to do sectionals. The boys, they afraid it's
because of
hurt.
our video.
But we're going to see what we can do this year. We'll try again.
And by the way, congratulations goes out to Romulus. Hey, she went to school at Romulus.
Yay.
This is her day, man. Cindy Garlic Lorenzetti.
Yay, Romulus.
16-0 in the regular division in their regular leagues. 18-0 overall. Amazing year for Romulus. I have a lot of great memories of Romulus. I used to go to the Romulus Hotel, and I used to go back when the Almonds were there. Phenomenal basketball.
That Romulus girls team is so much better than everybody else that they play.
They're 18-0 overall. And how about Gananda in the Wayne County League? Gananda, who I used to pick on with their name. I love that name, Gananda. They're going to win that division as well, the Wayne County section. By the way, just so you know, speaking of Cindy Garlic Lorenzetti, it must be her day. We're anointing her queen. She's a graduate of Romulus. Who comes on the show next week? Why, of course, we bring in 2 Romulus stars and the likes of Olivia Brandow, a senior, and Jessica Rohn, also a senior, along with head coach Damon Nicholson. They will be here next week, so it's ironic that you're here this week. So we'll be praising them, giving them some credit, which we have been lax at, and I take full responsibility.
Long overdue for that team, for those girls. Long overdue for those
Long
girls.
overdue to praise the Romulus girls team. They'll be here next week, and we should have some fun and give them some recognition, which is way overdue. So, again, we are talking Syracuse basketball. Their next game is when, Jimmy?
Wednesday night at Pitt.
At Pitt. A tough one, but, hey, Pitt plays them tough.
Cindy, are we going to lose a game this year?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I asked you if it was good to lose one.
You did.
Yep.
And my answer was, I had to think about it for a minute, but I said, if you're on a roll and you can continue with a winning streak, then go for the winning streak.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to lose a game.
Right. So
I'll win them all.
Who would have thought going into the new conference, ACC, that they would do this? So it's like, go all the way. But I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. At first I was a little nervous and apprehensive, but I felt very comfortable here. Hopefully everything was pretty much politically correct as I can be. And I want to just say, if you guys ever need a woman's point of view on sports and you want to invite me back for that, I'd be more than happy to
have
come.
You back.
I would love to have you come back. Matter of fact, we'll set that up on our calendar in, let's say, a month or so down the road.
When Syracuse goes to the Final Four, it'll be no politics.
No politics.
No politics. We'll talk sports.
Very good.
We'll bring a 6-pack of Coors Light and some wings. And Jimmy will be off the air the next day. Well, listen, folks, we always enjoy having our special guests come in the show. And again, just give you, before we wrap up, we're running a little bit late, but let me just give you an idea. Next week, Miss Brandow and Roan and the coach of Romulus will be here. That'll be the next 17th. And then the following week, we're trying to get Dave Barnick. Speaking of Dave Barnick, Cindy remembers Dave Barnick. I hired that dude, so I have some credit. Dave Barnick, we're trying to get him on the 24th. He's got a doctor's appointment. He's going to see what he can do. And then the following week, we're going to have Jim Spina come back. Jim is the head of the entire operation as far as the town of Seneca Falls, and he just doesn't run the rec center. There's a lot involved with Jim Spina. He'll give us an update on what's happening with his world. That'll be on March the 3rd. So
he's also a Syracuse fan, so we'll...
Also a big SU fan. And if you have interest in coming on the show, we open up the show for anybody and any cause. Just keep it clean, except for me, of course. I'm the host. But again, if you'd like to come on and be a guest, talk about your charity, your benefit, your children who may have spectacular sports abilities, I may not know it. They may be great ping pong players. We want to hear about it right here on this show. Again, I open up the invitation to all of you. And again, if you don't call me and schedule a date to come on, shame on you. So, Cindy, once again, thanks a lot for coming in.
Thank you so very much. I enjoyed myself.
All right. Spread the word to the rest of the supervisors. We'd love to have them come on.
I will.
I asked Bob Hayssen, but he's scared of that.
He should. Actually, you should have him and I on together at
Oh,
the same
that
time.
would be great.
That would be a good show.
You and Bob Hayssen together, that would be a 3-hour show. All right, folks, I think I could sell that show. Take care, everybody. Again, congratulations goes out to the Geneva High cheerleading team for winning Section 5 this past weekend at RIT. Have a great week, everybody. Let's hope we get above 20 degrees. That's a look at Weber this week, my way.